Good afternoon, Nadir. Good afternoon, good morning, everybody.
Good afternoon.
We just wait for a while. Some
Sure.
participants are connecting. Let's just wait for a while.
It's actually raining very heavily here in Mumbai.
Are you in Mumbai now?
Yes.
Okay. How's the weather there?
It's raining. It's raining very heavily.
Raining. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I took 2 hours to reach office today.
Oh.
Well, I can show you some winds. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Oh. Is that outside your office?
Yes.
Oh, I've been there to your office. Oh, that's just off the highway, isn't it?
Yes, it's on the highway. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
When did you come last?
Oh, it must have been 8 years ago or something like that.
So we've done up the office now. So you should visit again. It's now a fancy office.
Oh, it was still Mr. Droga who was there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, Mehul was already there.
Yeah. Correct.
His desk was just in front of the main entrance door. I remember that. Ladies and gentlemen, members of Acraa and guests, welcome to our Acraa webinar. And first of all, before we start, I'd like to make a special welcome to the new members of our Acraa community. And we have members from the rating agency of Cambodia, who RAC, or Rating Agency of Cambodia, is a new member. And I see here the general manager of Rating Agency of Cambodia, Ms. Sarita Kalo. So we welcome you, Sarita, to this your first webinar with Acraa. We'd like also to make a special welcome to the members of PT Credit Rating Indonesia, which is also our new credit rating agency member. And we have in attendance a group, I think there's 6 in all, led by their president director, Mr. Adrian Shaiful. So, and also by Martha Diana Boki. So welcome to all of you to this Acraa webinar. I would like in a special way to recognize the presence in our midst of our director of Acraa, Ms. Grace Lee, who is the president of Taiwan Ratings. And I also see here the CEO of Emerging Credit Rating of Bangladesh, Mr. Arifur Rahman. I think also our old friend, Mr. K.S. Chong, Group Technical Director of RAM Rating, is here in our group. And I think Ms. Thu Tran of Saigon Ratings from Vietnam is also here. So this is a growing rating agency community. Again, welcome to all of you. I would like to go now to make an introduction of our resource speaker, Mr. Nadir Bhalwani. Although you have it in the handout and we gave it in ahead, I would like to repeat because it is worth repeating. He is the Chief Information and Technology Officer of CareEdge Group, responsible for infrastructure operations, broadcast technology, information security, applications and data science, business process improvement. And he has been in this field for around 23 years of his business career. He is a well sought out speaker and also a writer on these very technical topics. And we will be sharing his views this afternoon. He is a certified information security auditor and a global CIO certification from the executive program of Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. So, Mr. Nadir Bhalwani, will you please take over now, and we are ready to listen to your presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tumlao. I'll just first share my presentation. Good afternoon, good morning to all of you. It's a pleasure to address you today. I will just share my screen. Also, I will take you through the presentation first, and then we'll have an open session for question and answers. Please make your notes and put your hand up when we start, when we open the forum for questions. Just give me a moment. Let me just share that. Is my screen visible to all?
There, we can see it, yes. Thank you.
Great. So just one sec. Yeah. Yes. So the topic for today, ladies and gentlemen, is evaluation of technology risk as a core risk for corporates. My name is Nadir Bhalwani. I am the Chief Information and Technology Officer for CareEdge Group. I will take you through my presentation first, and then we'll have an open session. The key messages for this presentation. One is we'll go through the definition and importance of technology risk. Most of you are from the finance background. Probably you wouldn't know, what is information security in detail. So I'll actually take you through that first to set the context on, so that we could understand the importance of technology and then technology risk. Business and its growing dependency on technology. We all know that in this age, everything works via technology. Categories and impact of technology risks, risk mitigation strategies for your organization, few case studies on some security breaches which led to devastating effects to the organizations. And this is a new concept wherein how do the boards of organizations look at technology risk? And in the end, we'll conclude. Am I audible to all? Yeah. I assume that I'm just moving ahead. Yeah. So definition and importance of technology risk. Typically, in all organizations, we believe that technology is an integral part. I wanted to explain to you what are the pillars of information security first, so that you understand that when can a technology risk or there could be a breach. So there are three pillars of information security. One is confidentiality, second one is integrity, and the third is availability. As we all know, what is confidentiality is that whatever information is there, it has to be confidential and it has to be accessed by authorized person only. So if there is a piece of information which has to be known to 5 people, it has to be known to those 5 people only and not known to the sixth one. The moment it is known to the sixth one, there is a breach. The second pillar, so if there is anything like that happening, then it's a security breach. The second is the integrity. Now there is a piece of information in its form, and it's given as to the authorized individuals only. But if that piece of information is changed or anything is added or deleted from that, it will lose its integrity. So that means, again, that information is not secure because it's not the correct information to be shared with the correct people. That is number two, when you see there is a data breach. Number three is the information is confidential, the information is integral, it's not updated or changed by anybody. But the information is not available at the right time. So the third principle of information security is the availability. That's why we want the information to be available when it's required. For example, if you do net banking and you want to do a transaction, and this moment when you log into the net banking website and the website is down for some reason, it is again a security issue because it's not available to you when you want. So if these three things are intact, that means you are secure. And if any one of these gets compromised, it's a technology breach. So this is what information security is. The risk is the potential for an unplanned event or negative business outcome involving the failure or misuse of IT. As I told you, failure, that means if there is no availability. Technology risk encompasses various aspects, including cybersecurity, data breaches, system failures, technology obsolescence, and regulatory compliance. We'll get into the details of all of this later on. Why technology risk has now become important? There is an increasing resilience on technology-driven processes and systems. There is interconnectedness of digital infrastructure for various business functions. Today, any department you pick up in your organization, they are using technology to deliver. And this technology is enabling them to be more efficient. So let us pick up some functions in the organization. Say, for example, sales. The sales will use a sales automation system, right, to deliver their KRAs. The finance will use a finance ERP. The delivery will use a workflow or something to deliver their KRAs. And the compliance will have their own system. The HR will have their own system. Even in IT, when we do change management, service desk, all of that has a system. So there is no department in the whole organization which is not connected to technology. Today, delivering anything by any department without technology is impossible. Potential financial losses, operational disruptions, reputational damage resulting from technology-related incidents. Again, we'll get into details of each that, how could these affect the organization. I'll move to the next slide. I in the start told you that the whole reason technology becomes a core risk is because all the business functions use technology. They are dependent on technology to deliver their daily outcomes. So today, if you have a repetitive task, what do? You automate through technology. Your entire communication today, we are connected through Zoom. Is again, what are we doing? We're actually in different corners of Asia. We are still connected using the digital and collaboration tools. Sitting at the comfort of your house and your office, you're able to access global markets across the world, right? Be it capital markets, be it e-commerce platforms, be it whatever. Through technology, you could get data-driven insights, and which will help you to make informed decisions. Today, digital transformation is the journey which each organization is taking. We at CARE also are moving. Of course, we are digital, but we are moving to the next level today. I'm sure in all of your organizations, you are moving to that level. Cloud computing is here to stay. People do not want to have their own infrastructure. It is cost effective to go on the cloud, which again makes you sure that makes more important for you to make sure that the information security is there on the cloud. Your customer relationship management systems, your sales systems are also now improved, which are giving you a lot of insights and good experience to your customer. Big data and analytics makes sure that it connects with all your systems, be it sales, be it finance, be it the delivery, be it HR, takes in data from all of them and give you actionable insights. artificial intelligence and machine learning, I would say they are the most abused words in today's industry. But to be very, very frank with you, it's there to stay. And if you don't, if you don't use it in the future, we'll be like dinosaurs. So typically, I think each organization should figure out their use case for artificial intelligence and machine learning. At CareEdge, we already are using it. We're in the process of identifying more use cases to implement the above technologies. The business models are changing. Everyone is moving to an annuity business. Actually, I would say everyone has learned from us. The rating agencies were already into annuity business from the start. But more and more, all the organizations where they call subscription services for licenses or OTT platforms, anything you do, it's now on a subscription basis. The direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands are expanding. So people are not only doing business through one channel, they are actually becoming omni-channel. They would say that I could go through a brick and mortar shop. I could also do that from D2C. I could also sell it through an aggregator. All of this is actually delivered using technology. Now, the fact that if you want to deliver anything in your business, you want to use technology, we see the changing business models. Technology becomes more and more important, and it's important that we protect our data. I'll go to the next slide, categories and impact of technology risk. I told you that we'll get into details of the technology risk. Let's talk about them in detail right now. The biggest risk is your data breaches. And as I told you that, there's a saying in cybersecurity, the most secure computer in the world is the one which is shut down, right? So if it's shut down, then it's secure. So anything which is connected and it's online, there is a chance that it can be breached. We've seen multiple breaches across. We've seen people spending millions of dollars on information security and still getting breached. The idea is not that. The idea is to make your system secure depending on the value of the system. So if you think that your system is very valuable, you would put 5 locks to it, right? So you will have 5 to 10 tools making sure that there is no data breach. If you think your systems are not too critical, you will put 2 locks. But does it mean that you're going to be completely secure? I don't think so. The thing is, if you put 5 locks, it will be difficult for the hacker to open those 5. And maybe by the time he's opening those 5 locks, you get an alert and you stop him to go ahead. So typically, you try to protect to the maximum, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be completely secure. The people out there are smarter. They figure out more and more means to breach your security systems. So we need to make sure that our systems are typically secure. Infrastructure and failure of systems. This is the second principle. The first principle, data breach, is breaching the confidentiality. The second one is actually breaching the principle of availability. So if your system is failing to be up at that time, you're actually not available for the customer to access your system. And that's something which could lead to a business loss or could be leading to a dissatisfaction to the customer. The third is the technology obsolescence. We all know we are in an era where the technology is changing every day. We need to be on the latest technology and make sure that whatever is obsolete, we move them out, and make sure if there is a time gap to move to the latest technology, make sure that the old technology remains secure by putting more security systems on it. More and more, the regulators are telling us on how should we have our security systems. Typically, we'll have to make sure that we keep up with it. We make sure that whatever things are suggested by the regulators are implemented. And they keep on, the regulators also ask us for a lot of reports and on-time alerts to be generated. And all of this cannot be achieved without technology, because if we try to do things manually, it will be impossible for us to deliver the regulatory compliances, the reports to our regulators. Third-party dependencies on supply chain and vulnerability. Typically, what has been seen that when I give you an example of a data breach, also we will be clear at that time. But what's typically been seen is that when you give access to your system to third parties, you tend to leave things open. And when the contract is over, there is a tendency of not disabling the access. We'll have to make sure that whenever these accesses are given, they are disabled at the right time, and the access is given at need to know basis and not full access. What happens if all of these risks get materialized? We could be in financial losses. There could be business interruption, litigation costs, regulatory fines. The bigger thing is that your business's reputation is damaged. When this happens, the confidence of the customer goes down. This also leads to reduction in your market value. There could be legal and compliance consequences, because some of your customers would come and sue you for actually opening up their data to the world. And this again would look at competitive disadvantage resulting from inability to adopt technologies to adapt to changing markets. So if you don't even adopt a new technology, and if your competitor is at that time, you're going to just be behind the competition, and that will be a disadvantage to you. And typically that competitor will go ahead of you just because he's using a better technology and he's ahead of the curve. What do you do for this? Implement robust cybersecurity measures such as firewalls, encryption, and regular vulnerability assessments. Establish a disaster recovery and a business continuity plan. I think pandemic has taught us that we need to be ready to work from anywhere at any time in the world. We all have been through that for 2 years. We've seen each one of us has worked from home, and believe you me, technology enabled us to actually work seamlessly at the comfort of our house and deliver the same. So typically, these procedures should be established well and also be tested every year. At CareEdge, we test our disaster recovery every year. In fact, recently we did an exercise wherein we moved our entire infrastructure to the disaster recovery site. We ran that infrastructure from the disaster recovery site for a week, and then we brought it back to the primary site. So this was completely tested. People were working from office, people were working from home and accessing the disaster recovery site. And without any issue, in the sense it was the same experience which they had in the primary site at the disaster. So the users should not know that where the infrastructure is. Is it on DR or is it on the primary site? As we said that we should be regular to update and maintain technology infrastructure, because a technology obsolescence could lead to disasters. Probably it could stop working, it could be vulnerable, there could be multiple issues. Most important thing is to conduct employee security trainings. As an organization, we should make sure that whenever an employee joins, they go through a cybersecurity training and awareness. Post that, every year there should be a refresher. At CareEdge, we do that. Whenever a person gets onboarded, he has to mandatorily go through the cybersecurity awareness training. And post that, every year we do a refresher training for all the employees. And this is mandatory. It's not an exception for any user. What we'll have to do is we'll have to stay informed about the regulatory requirements and compliance standards and make sure our technology enables us to deliver them. Let me get into the two case studies. There are multiple case studies which are there for data breaches. These are the ones which had a major impact on the organization. So in all of you would have heard about the Equifax data breach. In 2017, Equifax, which is one of the largest credit reporting agencies in the US, experienced a data breach. The information of approximately 147 million users was, with names, with social security numbers, birthdays, addresses, was out in the open. This severely impacted Equifax's reputation. It led to significant financial losses, and there were lawsuits by many users. Plus, the regulatory investigation started, which they had to pay a penalty. Plus, they had to also settle a lot of lawsuits with the customer. But what happened in the end is the customer confidence reduced. So what happened in the end that the market share also reduced. So it's not only that you pay off by giving a penalty and that's done. It's not that way. What happens is in the end you also lose your customers, and then it takes a lot of time to get them back, because once you feel that okay, their systems are not secure, the customers won't be willing to come back to. The second one, which was also a very famous security breach in 2013, where Target, the major retail chain in the US, also got compromised. This, as I mentioned to you, was because we had given they had given access to a third-party contractor. So the third-party contractor's network was insecure. The cyber criminals gained access to the Target's network, to the third-party network, and put a malware in the point of sale system. And in that case, they had taken around data for 70 million individuals. And the breach, the target systems were down for a while. The breach took a lot of, after the breach, the Target took a lot of time to come back and resolve it, because it was a severe attack. This again led to financial losses, reputation loss, long-term impact on brand image. But to add to Target's misery, again, I think after 4 or 5 years, they were again hacked. And this all led to major issue. I think they are in a very bad situation right now. So typically, you might be a very good company, but if you're affected by a data breach or you have an inherent technology risk, you have a risk of losing the business. It's as good as your operational risk. So when people say that the technology risk is much lower as compared to all the other risks, which is a financial risk, your operational risk, your risk of doing business, etc., your regulatory risk. But if you ask me, I will rate that into the technology risk in the top 2 risks which a corporate has today. And especially if you are completely technology enabled, all your systems depend on technology, then in some companies it could be the number 1 risk. What's happening today? Typically in all organizations, there is a risk committee, right, which meets regularly. So there is a board committee which is called the risk committee, wherein there are some board members and some members from the senior management of the organization. And that risk committee also has deals with or probably reviews the technology risks. But more and more, what the boards are doing, they are having a separate technology risk committee. In our organization, we have a risk committee wherein I'm a part of it. So there is technology risk also addressed at that time. But the new concept is that the boards are very mindful of the technology risks. In fact, if you see, the new boards also have technology expertise on the board. So there would be a person on the board who has experience in technology for a few decades to be a part of the board. The board forms an IT risk committee, which actually meets on a regular basis, say in a quarter, and then also reports to the board on what is the progress. The boards make sure that there is internal audit engagement from a third party, which does a regular audit for all the IT controls and cybersecurity for the organization. Typically, the board then goes ahead and defines the agenda on what should be covered in the technology risks. It's not that if you do 3 things, that's the end of the world. The landscape of technology is evolving. So it's not going to be constant. So every year, there would be a separate agenda from the board technology risk committee. Also, the board makes sure that there are exercises undertaken. For example, undertaking a DR and BCP exercise. So the board makes sure that the organization does that and is resilient from any failures of technology in the future. So the conclusion here from the board perspective is that they acknowledge the importance of technology. More and more boards are making sure that there is a person of expertise on the board. There is a technology committee, and every board meeting there is technology discussed in terms of not only technology being secure, but how is technology helping the business to grow. I've left my slide blank for the conclusion. The whole reason for that is because whatever we spoke or whatever I spoke during the presentation is the conclusion that technology today is the #1 risk for any corporate, especially in today's era where all the corporates are connected. In whatever we do, we use technology, be it sales, be it finance, be it HR, be it our ratings, the delivery system which we use again is tech enabled. Therefore, if any board or any organization ignores technology risk, there could be consequences of them going out of business. So that's the importance of technology and technology risk in any organization, even if it's a small organization or even it's a big organization, especially for a company like ours, wherein we deal with a lot of client confidential data, and we are responsible to make sure that data is secure and doesn't get into the hands of the wrong people. So for organizations like ours who deal with data, and we typically have UPSI with us practically all the time, it's our responsibility to make sure that our data is secure and there is a proper process to manage. Thank you very much. Now we'll open the floor for questions, and I'm happy to answer the question.
Thank you very much, Nadir, for your presentation. And I will invite the participants now to ask your questions or your need for clarification, or even your own comments to the presentation or to the topic. But I would like to start by asking Nadir, you tell us about the stories of Equifax and Target. Now, tell us the end of the story, the real end of the story of Equifax and Target. I mean, what are the continuing risks that the people whose data were hacked exposed to? How continuing are the risks to them, and how vulnerable post-event?
So typically, when these kind of events happen, there is a forensic audit which takes place, wherein they come out with the root cause. Then they make sure that the root cause is closed. Typically, after that, of course, the board and the entire organization makes sure that this is going to be very important agenda for them in the future. And probably those policies get in place, a regular scan happens, there is an audit which is there on a regular basis done. So typically, I believe if you've been breached once, and there's nothing wrong, because as I told you, the people out there are smarter. What you need to do is you need to put 5 locks, 6 locks. Every year, the number of locks should increase. Does it mean that the bad guy out there will not be able to break it? He might be able to break it, but he will take time to break. So it's like in your house, right? If you put 1 lock, the person can come in by just breaking that. But if you put 5, he would try to break those 5. But once in the process of breaking 5, the neighbors will be alerted. And then you will block him again. So typically, I think it's an ongoing process. Even if you're breached, you need to continuously make sure that you're on top of the things, and make sure that the regular audits, the regular scans, the regular updating of your security tools is happening, and then you'll be fine.
Well, let me pursue this a little more. Supposing I was one of those whose names were hacked, they got my name, they got my address, and some other personal details, and so therefore, what does this mean? I am forever exposed to.
So it all depends.
I mean, they have it, so I cannot do anything anymore about it. Is that the extent of the damage?
So there are 2-3 things over here. One is, of course, your personal data is out, so that your privacy is secured, compromised, I mean. But if suppose there would be a login and password which is also out, you need to then go and change your password. In fact, those things are mandatory, and then of course the organization only will make sure that you change your password, or they will disable it for a while because they know that they've been hacked. The idea at that time is for the I'm looking from the organization point of view, is we need to be transparent. We need to be transparent to our customers that this has happened. These are the steps which we've taken, and we make sure that next time this doesn't happen, because we know that the steps we're taking are going to be good enough to make us secure in the future. But we need to be, of course, very transparent to our clients. But you're right; it's there in the open. It's there in the open.
Okay.
But in today's, I'm just trying to see, in today's day and age, it's like very difficult. You know, our lives are not private at all. It's all public. You search my name on the internet, you'll get everything about me. And you can't not be outside of social media also. So I guess it's how much you share on social media is also important.
Okay. If the others don't mind, I have one more question. Can we go back to your slide on risk mitigation strategies?
Sure, I'll do that.
Yeah, these ones. So here you have, I think, enumerated some of the major risk mitigation strategies. But looking at all this, I noticed that number 4, conduct employee training on technology, security, and best practices.
Correct.
But what kind of training are you going to give an employee who is really intent to violate the security codes and protocols of the company? The point I'm trying to make is, Nadir and members of this fellow participants, isn't the real vulnerability not so much the system or the gadgets or the paraphernalia, but the greatest vulnerability is the person, the people who have access right? And if this is so, perhaps I'm looking from the standpoint of a credit risk analyst. Because you're talking, Nadir, about evolution, and it's a nice way of presenting it. But I'm now looking at evaluation more than evolution in my question. So how do we address that, really? The question of people. Let's say Mr. K.S. Chong, I would like you also to answer this question. Mr. Chong, you're here in the group. So
Can I take
how
that?
do
Because
these people, this is really the people risk in technology risk. Okay, can you address that? After you, Nadir, let's listen from Mr. Chong.
So that's a wonderful point you made, Mr. Damlao. I think I forgot to touch that upon, that the major breaches which currently happen in organizations is via internal employees. So it could be a disgruntled IT employee, it could be a credit analyst who is giving information to some other agency, etc. Now, as organizations, what can we do? So my first point was you should have robust cybersecurity policies and robust systems. Now, today, for an example, our laptop or any laptop should not have access to anything else. The USB should be blocked. The only email access should be your corporate email. The corporate email should have DLP. There would be antivirus, anti-spam. There would be web proxy filtering, etc., so that only right sites are being accessed. There should be no upload on the internet allowed. All of that is taken care, right? So typically, we're making sure that whatever tools which we're giving that to the person, he is not sending it out from my system. Plus, whatever he does is within the corporate network. Now, the question number 2 is that what happens to the things in his mind, right? If he has some information which is there in his mind, he's always it's okay for him, or it's very easy for him to share it with anyone. Now, there's no solution for that. Now, for that, you have NDAs signed with your employees. You have strict policies against data breach if they go and talk about confidential information outside the organization. That's all you can bind them from. But whatever is in your control in terms of technology, you should make sure that he doesn't use technology to send data outside or get wrong data inside. So that's where we come in. Beyond that, you have to trust your employee. That's number 1. But of course, there are breaches. Some people do that. The only thing you can do with them is have strong agreements with them, which tell them not to disclose anything. And that's all you can do. There's nothing else, because whatever is in his mind is in his mind, right? He can go out and talk to anybody if he wants to, if he has malicious intent. So that will always be there. But we need to make sure that the other things which are in our control, like our agreement with him is strong, all our cybersecurity systems within the organization is strong, so that no confidential data goes out of the system unnoticed. So that's my answer to your question.
Okay, let's listen to Chong, and then I think Harun, did you want to say something after Mr. Chong? Chong, are you still there? Okay, Harun, Mr. Chowdhury, did you want to say or ask some question? Okay, now, anybody else would like to raise a question to Nadir or make any comment? None? So, okay, let me continue my own questions, Nadir. You know, listening to you, and if I were a credit rating analyst, which I am in a sense, what I'm really looking for is a basic analytical framework for technology risks? You know, something that you can apply universally. In other words, can you identify for us the basic questions to ask to identify the relevant technology risks faced by a company in whatever industry? Is this possible? Considering that technology is so different, so differently affects so many different companies.
So that's a brilliant thought. In fact, I've been working with credit rating agencies for like since I started my career. So I was with Crystal earlier, and early 2000s we had this thought when cybersecurity was just people had just started installing firewalls at that time. We had that thought. We went to our management saying that, why don't we have technology risk as an aspect when we do a credit rating, right? We see everything else. We probably do not have a detailed evaluation of technology of the organization when we do a credit rating. But I think I'm surprised that, after 22, 23 years, it's still not there. But I'm sure that the future, this framework which you're talking about will be a part of the credit rating for technology risks. So typically 3-4 things which would be a part of the framework. Of course, we can get into details. One would be technology obsolescence. So we'll have to figure out that do they use any technology which is obsolete? 2 is do they have access control procedures in place? 3 is do they have a change management system in place? 4, do they have disaster recovery and business continuity plans in place? More or less, if you cover these 5-6 aspects and probably get into details on all of these with a checklist, typical checklist in saying yes, no, and if they have all cybersecurity policies in place, I'm sure that would be a good framework to work on. Probably we could get into details, but I think that's a good idea. Typically, credit rating agencies don't do it, but it'll be nice to have that as one of the criteria.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more? Excuse me. Are there any questions from the participants?
You guys can reach out to me on email or phone.
Okay. I have one more question.
Sure.
Yeah, your prescription for vulnerability assessments. What should vulnerability assessment include? Would that include, for example, something like not just the assessment of the system, but assessment of the people? Well, it's not just about their ability, but the moral hazards of employing particular employees. For example, in other words, I don't know. Perhaps the best word I can think of right now is loyalty check. If that ever is acceptable. Let me have your comments.
So typically, at least in India, all organizations have a background verification check for all the employees before they are onboarded. Now, what does this? So there are agencies in India available who do the background verification. I'm not sure in other countries how does it work, but even before I was onboarded in this organization and an organization, there was a background verification check done, wherein these agencies make sure that they talk to their own employers. They do the police verification, depending on what you tell them to do. They do some third-party research and all of that, and then come up with a report. So I guess, is that foolproof? You can't say, but that just gives you some comfort that this person has left the organization in a good note. He's not done anything wrong in the old organization because they're getting a sign off from there. He doesn't have any police record. and all his credit and all of the other things are clean. So all of this gives you some comfort. Does this mean that he will never breach or he'll never do anything wrong? That's no guarantee. But as I told you, you can do this much. So like you're putting 5 logs, you do this background verification check for the employees, and that's how it works in India.
Okay, thank you. One last question
Sure.
from me. What are, in your opinion, what are the particular technology risks faced by credit rating agencies?
So typically, all the other risks are easy to manage because, say, for example, making sure that your technology is not obsolete, so you go to the latest, making sure that you have a DR. It's all in your control to do. Some things, as you mentioned, are not in your control, is wherein there is a malicious intent in the employee or there is somebody from outside who's trying to hack. So you need to make sure that your systems which are exposed to the internet are secure. Typically do a VAPT regularly to make sure that whatever you deploy lately also doesn't have any vulnerability. And there's no way that a malicious hacker gets into your network. The second risk, I would say, you should also make sure that your internal employees have only information which is need to know on the need to know basis according to their authority and access. And also make sure that they are not able to send any information outside without being unnoticed. So those systems you need to keep on checking. Typically, there should be an information security department. We also have it here, who does this check on a regular basis if there is anything wrong happening, like a governance check.
Okay, thank you, Nadir, for this very nice conversation we have been having here. Are there any questions or comments from the group? Well, I think they've been listening to us, Nadir. I've been monopolizing the conversation, I think, but I hope everybody was listening to us and getting some useful information from our conversation. Again, thank you very much, Nadir, on behalf of Acraa for your presentation and for taking time out to share your views and comments and having this conversation with us this afternoon or this morning. Thank you so much again. And to all participants too, thank you very much for your participation. Look forward to more webinars. The next event that we are sponsoring Acraa together with the Asian Bankers Association is our August 24 conference on addressing emerging systemic risks and the challenges. So watch out for our notices, dear Acraa members. And for now, thank you and goodbye. Thank you very much, everybody, for your participation.